So you probably read the title and thought, what else is new? But hold on before you move on. These are my personal reasons why I think that she's a scumbag. Just from my perspective of being part of the demographic that feminists like to think that they're speaking for. I mean, the same goes for Linda Sasso, and she's coming up with one of these videos of her own. So this is something that is small in comparison, but I still wanted to start off with it anyway. It happened kind of recently, I think. This is just a tweet, and she's had many other things that are just stupid in her Twitter, but this one in particular. I'll link it in the description because you should see the replies to this. But it says, "Things women do lie about. What they ate for lunch. Things women don't lie about. Rape." And I would talk about how simple research could just basically clear that up in 5 seconds, but now that Google is burying information, I don't know if that's the case. I would say common sense could clear that up pretty quickly as well, but apparently we just don't have that anymore. And as you can imagine, a lot of replies to this, I think the majority of replies to this was just, here's an article about a woman who lied about rape, here's an article about a man who was put in jail even though he didn't rape anyone, here's an article about a woman who raped a man and got away with it, and all these sorts of things like that, and it's terrible and depressing. You can see that I don't really think anyone else likes Lena Dunham either. But besides the tweet, the thing that really bugs me about this is her response to everything every time someone calls her out on something. She either just completely ignores it and just doesn't even bother and then just says the same thing over and over again no matter what anyone says to her, or she'll just try and make something up about rape culture and patriarchy like every other feminist does. And I haven't pulled any examples of her doing this, so I'm not saying that it's her, but there's that whole trend as well that Linda Sasso does where she basically says that she wishes that she could take women who disagree with her vaginas away because they don't deserve to be women. I think you've all seen her do that. I wouldn't be surprised if Lena did that as well, but I just can't find it. Does anyone want some cyanide? Also, this has something to do with what we're going to be talking about next, but I always kind of thought maybe she defends women and says that women can't do anything wrong because it kind of excuses her from the things that she did wrong and the controversies that she's involved in. I mean, you could just try and tell people that you didn't do it and prove that you didn't do those things and just try and be a good person to move along. Or you could just align yourself with an ideology that thinks that all women are the same and that we should protect all of them by saying everything they did is completely fine, and you'd be fine, you wouldn't have to defend yourself. So which one do you think is easier for her? So you know I'm pretty much gonna be kind of talking about how there was that allegation that she molested her sister. Now there's all sorts of stuff about that, so I'm not entirely sure if I should just say that it's something that happened. But I'm more just going to say that we're gonna treat it as something that's over here, and then we're going to look at the reaction to it and look at her kind of attitude towards these things, and then more talk about that instead of just 100% saying that this is the sole reason why it's creepy. Because that way, even if she didn't do anything, the way that the people around her, including herself, are treating these sorts of things, it's still bad, I guess, which is my point. I'm trying to prove that her attitude towards it is bad. And the people that she surrounds herself with, their attitude towards it is bad as well, no matter what actually happened there. So if you look at places like salon.com where they defend pedophiles and all that sort of stuff like that, it's just really quite odd because you have pedophiles and they'll be like, no, that's fine, kids are fine, kids should go ahead and do that. Even if normal men just look at women, that's bad and they should be like arrested or something. That's really a problem that I have with, I guess, Lena Dunham's type of feminism is like sex positivity. And even that now, it's quite, I wouldn't really describe it as that, at least in a healthy fashion. I mean, you have some feminists who think that you should just like go and have sex with everyone and everything. I mean, if that's your lifestyle, then go ahead. It's going towards the point where if you're a sex positive feminist, you still don't want men to even look at you, and you try and make yourself as gross as possible, and you kind of pride yourself in looking as gross as possible because somehow that's positive sexually. I don't really understand. This second thing is considering that weird animation from her dad. I don't know if you've seen this. If you haven't, I will summarize it and then play it for you, and I will put music in the background just in case copyright. If you are listening to the stuff that I'm saying in the summary and you don't believe me, I'm playing the animation. You will want to die. So her dad basically is talking about how the extinction of white men is a good thing, but not only that, they will be evolving into a new kind of being that is more tolerant. So I don't really understand how they could go extinct and then like come back and evolve, but why am I trying to apply logic to this? So it's the destruction and extinction of white men is a good thing because they can be evolved into something better. That's really the main point. And it's kind of funny how an SJW might see you and be like, hey, you're a Nazi, and accuse you of eugenics and all these sorts of things for no reason. And they get all pissy about that because they're all about tolerance, but when it comes to white men and saying this sort of thing, you're perfectly fine with basically genocide, and it's perfectly fine to basically do what you're accusing other people of and pick the correct type of white male who will be allowed to continue to live and continue to breed with people. But the wrong kind can go extinct, and that's perfectly fine. Just the way that it's worded is creepy, and the visuals are even more creepy, so here you go. Warning, you will want to kill yourself after this. And if you're a white man, they would probably think it's a good idea if you did that, so hang on for me. But there you go.
How are you feeling about the extinction of white men?
Well, white men are a problem. Straight white men are a big problem. That's for sure. But I actually feel pretty good about it. I think straight white guys have been screwing things up for long enough. High time for straight white males to step back and let some other people do it.
That's my dad.
Also, on the subject of her dad, he paints really weird things. I can't show you them because they have a lot of nudity and weird images, and Google is very, very trigger happy, pardon the pun, with the idea of flagging people for stupid reasons, so I'm not gonna put stuff here, but you can go look if you want. Actually, no, don't do that. It's basically a bunch of weirdly distorted women who are like bending over and presenting themselves to the viewer. I don't know why, but it's just like either that or close-ups of assholes and vaginas. That is it. That's what he paints. It's a close-up of those things, or women bending over, and they're like colored in like weird red and orange colors. It's like really angry colors. There is some sort of issue that he has. I can see that. You can see that. You can just go full like Freud and look at this. I invite you to, because I'm very curious as to what problems are going on there, especially with his comments. So in some weird ways, I'm kind of confused if maybe the dad had problems, and then when he raised Lena, she got those problems as well, and she got that distorted view of the world, and she would have broken away from it if not for the kind of yes men that are around her. Like this group of people who are saying that you are a victim and then you get privileges for being in the in-group and acknowledging you're a victim and all these sorts of things. Maybe she would have turned out differently if she hadn't been introduced to that environment. I don't know, that's just a kind of thought, and obviously that doesn't mean that I'm going to excuse what she's done. This video is still called Lena Dunham is a scumbag because she is. I mean, sure, you can grow up like this, but there are so many people who grow up in these kind of weird environments who break away from that, and there's no effort on her part to do that because she's getting benefits from it. So for that reason, I'm not going to excuse anything that she does. There's no excuse for that whatsoever. I'm just kind of posing something that I'm a bit curious about. And it's just, I mean, look at the way that she presents herself. Okay, I'm going to put a couple things up on the screen. I don't know if I put them up already, whatever, I'll sort it out later. But she prides herself in being a nasty woman, so she prides herself in looking gross, and she has this weird, like, I think it's almost like a sexual thing, like she gets off on the idea of presenting herself to people because she knows that they'll find her disgusting. I don't know how much I can show you because I don't know what's gonna get, like, flagged or something, but she does have a lot of nudes, and let it be known, she does have a nude of her sitting on the toilet naked while covering up her vagina with a plate of cake. I wish I was lying. Trust me on that. I could ask you to go look it up for yourself, but you will get AIDS through the computer screen. So, moving on, I am sure that you want me to address the Hillary Clinton thing, and I will. Now, I'm not a fan of either Trump or Hillary. You can argue that which one's worse, that's completely fine, I don't really care, to be honest. But I guess I should talk about the fact that a lot of people in kind of the Lena circle of feminism and all of that did want to vote for Hillary because she's a woman, and that's really the only thing that they focused on. Woman, woman, woman. I have this article called Voting for Hillary Clinton because she is a woman is a pretty valid, not to mention smart, political decision, and here's why. It's not written by Lena herself, but the reason that I'm reading it is to kind of show you the first couple lines which really sum up the entire argument around that. So it says, throughout the primary season, I found myself having to defend my choice to support Clinton. I cycled through what were the most common justifications at the time. Clinton would be ready on day one, and Obama hasn't proven himself yet, was the most common reason I cited. Which also happened to be what Clinton herself was saying, but looking back, the real reason I was voting for Clinton was something I was ashamed and discouraged from admitting. I voted for Clinton because she is a woman. Okay, so first, was a woman sounds like it's changed somehow, like something happened to her, like she went full lizard transition. And people voting for people just because of their gender, and because they think that women are more important than men. That's totally what equality means. But remember, men are okay to discriminate against and hate because that's correct in society, right? I don't know, this is just kind of a side rant here, but I'm so sick of this idea that as soon as you stick up for men's rights and you dare to suggest that they have something that is not being addressed here, there's a problem with men like suicide or whatever that is not being addressed, that you dare to say that men are affected by the horrible ideology and things involved with Islam as well, that it's not just a vagina problem, that you immediately get called like some sort of apologist, or people just get triggered and you don't know where it's coming from. I saw the honey badgers suggest that men get affected by Islam as well, and there are people from all sides telling them that it's not okay and that women outrank men on the oppression scale. What does that mean? If you say that, do you know what you sound like? You sound like someone who is saying that because women get raped more, they should be the ones who are focused on and we should forget about men. That is what a lot of feminists say. You are saying the same thing here. Do you not see that? The fact that to suggest that men may be victims of certain things and it is a very valid thing is apparently a bad thing. That fact just drives me insane. And I will keep saying that men do have problems, and some of those problems, at least in the Western world, seem to be getting worse for them than for women because women are actually having theirs addressed. I will keep saying that. I don't care what you think of me for saying that. That is true. If we don't start at least trying to push the idea that men are human and that men have problems of their own, then what the fuck are we doing? Okay, you can call me triggered for trying to talk about this and getting into this and getting angry about it, but it is really something that makes me really fucking angry. Why is it such a bad thing to say that men are affected by things too? Why? Okay, so getting back on track. So Lena is not funny and basically says vile shit, so basically the same thing that I'll say about Amy Schumer when she gets her own one of these videos. So Lena thinks that she's being both funny and empowering and constantly posting naked pictures of herself. And I've already addressed some of the worst ones of that, and I'm not even going to talk about some of the other ones that I found, so it's this kind of idea that you are unhappy with the way that you are and you may be feeling sick, or you're just not happy with your appearance because of your weight or whatever it may be. And more specifically, I am talking about something that you can control. So something like if you are fat and it's something that you can control, that's what I'm talking about. Or like just basic hygiene things and, you know, all that sort of stuff. Like if you have a scar from a horrible experience that you had in a trauma, I'm not talking about that because you can't control that and that's really horrible. I think that real body positivity, if that's a concept that should keep going, it should be for people who have disfigurements or have things that happen to them which left horrible scars, like acid attack victims. They need that. They've been through something really horrible, and just saying, well, even if you think you don't look pretty, you have a great personality, or I want to get to know you for who you are, I don't care about any of the scars you have, they're not going to impact me in any negative way when thinking about you, that kind of thing. That's what body positivity should be, but instead we're focusing it on certain people who just don't know what standards are. So coming back to that, they are really unhappy, and then they think that even if they force their opinions on people and people just say you look attractive and they're lying just to kind of get this person to go away, even if it's a lie, that kind of shallow statement is something that they think will make them happy. Forcing this, thinking that it will make you happy and it won't, and Lena Dunham is such a big example of that. She says that she's happy being nasty, she says she's happy being gross, she says that being unpleasant is a good thing. She's not happy, she doesn't look happy, she looks like an extremely bitter person. You know that kind of parable that has many different forms, but I'm talking about the one where there's that animal that's trying to get grapes and they're too high up and then they go, well, those grapes are sour anyway, I bet, and they walk away. Like, just because you can't reach something, you think you try and make it a bad thing. It's kind of the same thing here in a way. No one really finds you attractive because you don't have standards and you think that you don't need them, and then you kind of say that men are a bad thing because they don't find you attractive. You just keep kind of like going further and further, going back into yourself to the point where you think that not only is like a relationship or just men finding you attractive or whoever you're attracted to finding you attractive is a bad thing, you think that it's a good thing to be unpleasant and it's empowering for people to not find you attractive or pleasant to look at in any way, which I don't really see how that's a good thing. And of course I'm not talking about the idea that the only thing that is important is looks, I'm just saying that there is obviously a balance there. And it's also this idea that men shouldn't have standards but women can. So a fat woman will be like, hey, I am perfectly fine and you can't not be attracted to me. If you ask her what kind of man she wants, she'll immediately just talk to you about, like, James Bond. I mentioned this in my last video, but that's really what it is. It's dumb. She was also quoted as saying that abortion is something that she wishes that she had. So I am pro-choice, and really one of the biggest reasons is because it's not like a fully developed baby when you get an abortion, and that's really one of the reasons, because if it was left too late then I wouldn't, because I don't like that idea. But it's one of those things where it's a difficult choice, but it is a necessary evil, I guess. If a parent who doesn't want to have a kid has a kid and then they maybe abuse that child, or that child gets left in foster care and stuff like that, it's not versus the parent just kind of getting an abortion. Like, I know that sounds terrible, but at the end of the day, it's just something that it makes a bit more sense just as a necessary evil that we have to do, and that's really my opinion. However, I will never take pleasure in such a thing occurring. Never. It's a necessary evil, but to me it's just still horrible and haunting. But Lena Dunham is like, why the fuck not? Let's have an abortion. So I'm not about to accuse her of like being a child killer or anything like that, because again, I just said what my views on abortion are, but it's really horrible to think about. It's still like a future life that's going to develop. Like, it's not a life yet, but it's going to blossom into a human being, and when an abortion happens, it's a necessary thing. And you know, you have like rape survivors and stuff like that who have to get abortions, and it's a good thing for their life, and it's sad to think about, but at the same time, it's a necessary thing here. It's the good thing here. They are getting their lives back after being raped by someone and being pregnant, or maybe just someone who would have been a horrible person to their child anyway. But then with this, it's like there's no reason for it. You don't even want a baby, you just want to have a process of developing, having a baby, and then just getting an abortion because you want to. That is just straight up evil. There's no necessity or anything involved with that. That's just you being straight up evil. That is, if I just mentioned that in the video and made the video like 2 minutes long, that alone would make you a scumbag. So that pretty much wraps up all of the individual things, and I'm just gonna go over some stuff. I'm just gonna gloss over it. I didn't talk about the cringe rap that she did, but I was planning to do a video on politics and music and looking at some cringy songs that are political as opposed to some good songs that have a message, so I'm gonna include that in that one when that comes along. All of that sort of stuff will come, so don't worry about that, but I just wanted to talk about this stuff today. And I also have a semi-documentary, not really a documentary, more of just a look into Sandra Lee and all of the horrible cooking and the stuff that she did, so that's coming up next as well. I'll put it in the documentary playlist, but it's not really an official documentary. Also, I did a review of Tommy Wiseau's The Room on my other channel. You'll see it in the end card and in the description, so check that out if you want, and I'll be making a video on there as well at some point about why I think that movie adaptations of video games suck. All that sort of stuff will be on that other channel if you're interested, because I've been spending a bit more time there now, so I think I have a lot of content to take that channel in whatever direction. So now I just have a couple queries and questions and that kind of thing, so if you're not interested in that, thank you for your time. So a bunch of people have been asking me about Patreon, and as I said to those people, I don't think that I deserve your money. I don't think that I would do enough. Even if I gave you heaps of extra content, I don't think I would do enough to justify that. But at the same time, with the reaction that I kind of get to that, I think that you guys feel like I'm kind of taking choice away from you, which is something I don't want to do. So it's kind of an uncomfortable position where I want to have that option open. I don't want to restrict you in any way, but I don't want to take people's money. So I'm kind of also thinking of, this isn't just like if I had a Patreon, would you like these things sort of question, but it's more like if you would like an extra thing, whether it be an incentive to get people to go to VidMe when YouTube starts getting worse or stuff like that, just anything. So even if you're not interested in the Patreon questions, still stick around for this. So it would just be like random poll with a bunch of different options and what video would you like next out of these options, or some random vloggy stuff just about random topics that come into my head that you don't see here that have to do with maybe this kind of topic. And I don't know, just maybe that kind of stuff. So if you're interested in stuff like that, I don't know, that's kind of a weird discussion. I suppose people in the comments will really have to tell me what they feel about feeling restricted with certain options and in terms of support and stuff like that. Even though I lean one way about the Patreon thing, I'm still open to be persuaded. I guess I don't really see myself being persuaded, but then again, I haven't heard your arguments yet. So really, that's about it.